Historic Augusta is a nonprofit historic preservation organization founded in 1965, so we're now in our 52nd year. It was founded by a group of people who were tired of seeing prominent historic buildings being demolished in that era, the 1950s and 60s, the post-World War II era, when little thought was given to the historic value of buildings, and we lost a number of important historic structures. And they decided an organization was needed to advocate for preservation. The mission of Historic Augusta is to preserve historic sites and structures in Augusta and Richmond County. And we do that in a number of different ways. Obviously, we don't have the money to do that ourselves, so we try to provide tools so that individuals who own these properties or government entities or nonprofits can do preservation themselves. And we kind of try to hold folks' hands and give them the information that they need to be successful. So we also do a lot of educational programming. Like this past weekend we did Walk with the Spirits, and that's to raise awareness of the community's history. And we try to connect the spirits with historic buildings that are still existing that need to be preserved.
Welcome to the oldest cemetery in the city of Augusta, and my final resting place for the last 208 years.
Walk with the Spirits is a way to showcase some colorful characters in Augusta's history, and it relates to our mission because all of those people lived in a historic building that, if it's still extant, it needs to be preserved. And so we try to tie that together. It's just kind of a fun way to tell some of our history.
This church has seen many changes over the years. Originally, it was built as a small, rough, wooden sawn log cabin type structure outside the door here, outside the side entrance here, in the very early days of Augusta's past. It was then built again later on, years later, and the French and Indian War did much damage to it. In the Revolutionary War, the British actually occupied the church grounds here in the Siege of Augusta. The brick wall that surrounded the church acted as a barrier between them and the Patriots on the other side, so they had a safe area where they could be in their camp here at that time. Later, this actual ground was not occupied by Episcopalians, but it was occupied by Presbyterians. And then finally, in 1916, something very horrific happened here, even worse than all the things, as far as I believe, that happened to it in the past. There was a horrible fire. That fire in 1916 happened on a March day, and it was a day much like today. The wind was blowing, it was blustery and very, very windy. I think of it as basically the apocalypse that was happening here at that time. You see, there were cotton bales all up and down Reynolds Street, and cotton warehouses along with those cotton bales. That fire jumped from building to building. It was as though the devil himself was jumping from one roof to another. When it was over, much of Augusta was destroyed. Thousands were homeless. In fact, this beautiful church was just a shell at that time. The windows before the fire were Tiffany glass windows. Those too were gone. But thanks to the dedication and the loyalty and the perseverance of the people of Augusta and the parishioners here at this church was rebuilt, and we are standing in the new creation that was created afterward. As I mentioned, the fire did much damage to this area in this church. That's the baptismal font that was here during the fire of 1916, and you can see it has suffered greatly. This baptismal font was a gift from the Church of England to the church here in Augusta in 1751. It is said to be one of the oldest English artifacts here in Augusta. Here are some more artifacts that were remains from after the fire of 1916. And behind me is a plaque for Joseph Wheeler. We called him Fighting Joe Wheeler. Now, he had an interesting background. He was a cavalry general during the Civil War for the Confederate States of America. After the Civil War was over, he fought for the United States of America in the Spanish-American War. You don't see that distinguished very often, where you have someone that fights for both sides, basically.
Good afternoon. I am General George Matthews. I was born in 1739 in Augusta. but not this quaint town on the banks of the Savannah, but up in Virginia, in Augusta County. In 1811, President Madison appointed me to negotiate the annexation of Florida. So I went down to Florida, I took possession of Amelia Island, I negotiated a great treaty, but that fool Madison disavowed it, saying that I had negotiated beyond my authority. So what did I do? I got on my horse, I headed to Washington to put Madison in its place.
Amen.
But it was a fight that was never to be fought. I died in my anger here in Augusta, Georgia, and I'm buried here to my left. So please, learn from me. Pick your battles wisely. Thank you.
We've been doing it for 11 years now, and it's been very successful. It's very popular. We move it around to different cemeteries each year so that people can get a flavor of different personalities that are buried in the different cemeteries.
I want to point out to you the Celtic cross. This is where Fort Augusta was established. Of course, it was established by James Oglethorpe. During my time, if I was looking at that section of land there, I could see straight to the river. There was no levee.
We also do a downtown loft tour each spring so that we can get people inside some of the downtown buildings to emphasize the need to preserve those spaces and to reuse them in the way that they originally were intended. Many buildings downtown were residential on the upper floors and commercial on the first floor. So it's kind of a renaissance of what was originally intended in the downtown area. We announced our 2018 endangered properties list. We usually announce our list each fall before the year that it's named for, because we know that we're going to be working on this list in the coming year. We named 4 properties this year, 4 new properties to our list. Well, the first one we named was the New Savannah Bluff Lock and Dam in South Richmond County. It was built in 1937 to create a steady pool in downtown Augusta, and that it provides water both for drinking and for industry in Augusta, in North Augusta. And it is used for recreational purposes, and until recently it was also used for navigational purposes, but unfortunately the locks do not function at this time. They could be made to function. The Richmond Summit Hotel was built in 1923 as the Hotel Richmond to replace a previous hotel called the Albion. It was the premier downtown commercial hotel. A lot of the travelers were businessmen who were coming to town to conduct business. And over the years, as downtown's fortunes declined, particularly in the 1970s, it was converted into a residential subsidized housing hotel. And it still serves a purpose, and thankfully it's not vacant, but we do see it having a higher and better use, especially with the restoration of the Miller Theater on the same block, the Imperial Theater directly across the street. You've also got the potential of what could happen with the Lamar Building, the Marion Building, the Leonard Building. All around it are some of our most prominent historic downtown buildings, and we see it as one in the mix that needs to probably have a new use. So the Albion Hotel was the original hotel on this site, and it was actually U-shaped, with the first floor being just one story, maybe 2 stories. And there was a fire in 1921 that destroyed much of it, but actually some of the Albion Hotel is still standing right there, as you can see. And it also had the original J.B. White department store on the 1st and 2nd floors over on the left side. So after the fire, they cleared away the debris, and they reestablished the store with the hotel property above it, but I don't know that it was ever a hotel again. They created an alley and they built the Hotel Richmond on what would have been the west wing of the Albion. 1100 block of Broad Street are two commercial buildings that are adjacent to one another. They both date to the late 19th, right around the turn of the 20th centuries. They have handsome facades and they need to be restored and preserved. We understand there's a development in the works and we're delighted for that. We could use all the downtown redevelopment we can get, but we also want to point out that these historic buildings should be preserved and incorporated into that plan. And we hope to, we're certainly open to working with the developer to come up with an acceptable plan that will bring about their preservation, but also a new development around it that would be beneficial to the downtown area. And then finally, there's a building at 202 Green Street, which is a residential structure, probably built in the 1880s. And it has survived the 1916 fire in Augusta. It was a single-family residence for many years. Some points it was used by those families as their business location as well. But basically the house is in sound condition, but we have a lot of questions about it, so we decided to list it this year. It is representative of downtown, of the Old Town, the potential that Old Town has to provide wonderful housing for the closest, it's the closest neighborhood to downtown Augusta. And with the cyber boom that we are expecting, we think that everything that can be done to encourage residential development in downtown is encouraged, and especially including redeveloping historic structures like in Old Town.
We are a full-service bridal salon that's locally owned and operated for the last 16 years, and we just really work on giving a bride the whole experience for their bridal time. We work with bedroom-sized dressing rooms where we actually stay with the bride and dress them through the experience. We call ourselves Say Yes to the Dress Without the Drama. But you get to work with somebody one-on-one and be dressed and come out to the stage so your entourage can see what you're wearing, and we just try to make it as less stressful as possible and take care of all the aspects of a bride, whether it's her bridesmaids, the moms, flower girls, the jewelry. We do invitations as well. We just try to help them with anything we can to make their experience simple. Buying your bridal gown should be an experience in and of itself, so we don't want you to feel like it's just something you're checking off your list. It should be something that you enjoy doing, something you look forward to doing, and we want to help you with that. So we have hundreds of gowns in the store. There's some up front in the store, there's more in the back, but we really work with a lot of designers. We work with designers who can customize, and we like to say we help them find a gown as unique as their love story. Your wedding gown will be the most self-expressive gown and piece of clothing that you'll ever wear. So we want to make sure that it really speaks to you, and just like when you said yes to the groom, you know your gown is right because you can feel it in your heart. Thank y'all for coming.
Almost 2 years. Not long. Not long.
And you just picked it up from?
I just, did not know I could do any of this. I'm 56 years old and had no idea that I could paint. And, but It does run, artists do run on my dad's side. We've had some really good artists, cousins, but you know, when you're busy with life, raising children and working, you don't have the time. So I finally, when my children moved out, I had some time to go do some things for myself, and that's how I stumbled on this. I got invited to go to an art class, and I went and just fell in love with painting, and the art teacher said, you know, I think you've got some talent, you should pursue this. So I did, and so here I am today, just from a simple art class.
Where do you draw most of your inspiration from?
Nature and outdoors and pets. Love animals.
Good deal. Any particular favorite thing you like to draw?
Dogs. Yeah, love the dogs. Love cows too. Love to do cows. Any animal, wildlife, birds. I love it all. When I first started, it's very intimidating, you know, because you're scared of putting too much color, not enough color. You're not sure how heavy-handed to go, and you really don't even know what your style is yet. You're this is all new to me, so I was developing. But the more I painted, especially dogs, it was like it just was easy for me. Some things came harder, but I knew when it was easy to me, that's the area I needed to go into and stay with. And how I got into the dogs, painting pets, was I had 4 dogs at the time. I've lost one since then. And I just said, you know, I'm going to paint my dogs and see how well that goes. And my husband came up and saw, in fact, it was this one that I painted first, the little Sheltie. And so my husband saw the Sheltie that I painted first, and he was like, oh my goodness, you need to do pets. That's just easy for you. And so I thought, well, he's probably onto something. He might be right here. So I continued to do more dogs, since I had 3 more dogs, and could get lost in it. I could paint dogs for hours and never get bored. And so anyway, that turned into a passion of mine. And last Christmas, I took some commissions and painted people's dogs for them for Christmas gifts, and it was a big hit. I mean, people came to me and said, oh my gosh, that was my favorite gift, my dog. Pet portraits are great gifts, so I love doing them. The moose here was inspired, we go to Montana. It's my favorite place in the world is Montana. And it's not unusual to be skiing down a trail and a big old moose just laying there. So I just said, I've always wanted to paint a moose. So I painted this and I gave it as a gift to my daughters. It stays in their home. And this was created for a baby's room, a little girl. And it's more of an abstract style. I do abstracts also. And of course, these here are my dogs and some of the first pet portraits I did, and love doing the dogs. And I love Tuscany painting, so I did this one. And I put a lot of different texture in that. And this special guy right here is Buddy. He was a Father's Day gift, and he loved being at the lake up at Clark Hill, and so they wanted him painted in the water because he was always, you know how labs are, they're always in the water. And he passed away shortly after I painted this, unexpectedly. So this turned out to be an amazing gift on Father's Day. So this is Buddy. One thing that has evolved out of this is it's turned also into more of a ministry for me. And what I mean by that is I personally feel that when you have a God-given gift and you find that out, it's not just for you and it's not just to make money. So I've started doing paintings for people and giving them as gifts, like angels for somebody that's lost a family member or somebody that's going through cancer or things like that. And these people come to me in different ways. Sometimes it's on Facebook, sometimes it's a friend through a friend. And I will just be prompted to paint something for them and just give it to them. And so that has blessed my heart so much to do that. And sometimes it's a cross, sometimes it may be an angel. But I do believe that art can bring comfort to people somehow, and God uses it just like He uses music sometimes to soothe, and so I'm just thrilled about that part of it. This is Emily Robertson. This is the painting I painted for her celebration of going home. And it was totally inspired by the Lord, and he specifically wanted her painted as a bride. And we did not know at the time that Emily was keeping a journal to her future husband. She was writing letters in prayer form, and it had already been laid on my heart to paint Emily as a bride. And when I found out that she had a journal, it just confirmed everything to me that I was hearing clearly. And so I asked her parents' permission. I felt impressed to paint Emily as a bride, and because she is the bride of Christ. And so they were already on the same page, and they were like, yes. So this was painted, and I finished the morning of her funeral. And if anything was God inspired that I've done, and if my gift was only for that painting alone, then I did what I was called to do. So, but that's my favorite painting, is the painting of Emily. And at the time I painted Emily, I had no idea what her favorite song was. I did not know what would be said at her service, her celebration of going home. But her favorite songs was Oceans by Hillsong. And I painted the ocean. That was not by chance either. I mean, the Lord led me to paint the ocean in there. And so when I was sitting in the service and that they announced that was Emily's song, because she went to Haiti, and that was her theme song as doing her missionary work. And when it came up on the screen, I was like, oh my Lord, only God would have known, because I didn't even know what to paint in the background. But I knew she needed to be painted in a white dress and with the ocean. And I didn't know that she was keeping a journal to her future husband, and that's why the Lord pressed it on my heart to paint her as a bride, because she is His bride now. And that was her desire, was to be a beautiful bride one day, and she is. And I'm sure she's more beautiful than the way I painted her, but she. And this painting here was done because of missionary work done in Haiti, and a hibiscus is the country's flower. So that's why this was done as this beautiful flower. And I used the colors of the Caribbean water and all that. So that represents Haiti. And then this little sweet dog is Maddie. And this was a gift for Father's Day also. And here's some more dogs I've done. Love doing the black labs, and I just did this one recently, and this dog has passed away also, and it's going to be a gift. And this is Emily's sister, Caroline Robertson. I've just started doing portraits. This is my third one that I've done. And so I've been taking some lessons from Suzanne Thigpen, and she's teaching me how to do people. And then I did this big landscape abstract, which I just love the colors in this. And so I just kind of love the outdoors, so I just paint what inspires me, and this is what I got.
What would you say to somebody that is looking to get, or maybe trying to develop or a skill or talent, you know, later in life that they've not necessarily thought that they had, or
Right. I think the best thing you can do is step out and try something you haven't tried. You know, for me it was going to an art class. I had never gone to an art class. And if I hadn't have gone, I may not have stumbled on this. But whether it's music, taking piano lessons, you just never know. And so, you know, just try something new. And because we all have things in us, we all have gifts and talents, and they're constantly evolving. And so I would say, if you've wanted to take piano lessons, go try it. You know, you won't know. It may be in you. I have a Facebook page, and it's under Debbie Savage, my maiden name, Real, and I'm on Instagram.